Welcome to the Ad Expert Podcast.
Glad to be here.
So imagine paying, I don't know, $5 every time someone just looks at your store window, even if they never actually walk inside.
Right, which sounds crazy.
It does. But for years, that was the harsh reality of digital marketing. You paid for the possibility of attention, not actual customers.
Exactly.
But today, we're looking at how local businesses are finally flipping that script, but doing so in a way that is incredibly nuanced.
Yeah, it's definitely not a simple on and off switch.
Right. So our mission for today's deep dive is to decode a highly effective, yet honestly frequently misunderstood digital marketing strategy. And that is integrating local service ads, or LSAs, alongside traditional Google ads.
It's a fascinating structural approach. I mean, when you look at the data, this dual method is really what separates the amateur local campaigns that are just burning through cash from the professional operations actually dominating their markets.
Yeah, and to really understand the mechanics of this, we are pulling from a great stack of sources today. We have insights from an article by marketing strategist Sam Ashrafi, and we're cross-referencing that with the operational playbook of Ad Expert.
Which is perfect for this.
Yeah, and for context, Ad Expert is a Los Angeles-based online marketing and web development agency. They have over a decade of experience, and the agency was founded by Sam Ashrafi alongside SEO expert San Nabavadi.
And that's really the right lens to use here. You cannot talk about local search in abstract global terms.
Yeah, right. It's hyper-local.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to look at the playbook of a local agency because local search is, by definition, fiercely territorial.
Completely. And to ground this in reality, we are looking at highly competitive, specific service areas in the Los Angeles market.
Yeah, tough markets.
Very tough. We're talking about places like Woodland Hills, Calabasas, Winnetka, Tarzana, even over to Encino, Sherman Oaks, West Hills, Reseda, Burbank, and Van Nuys.
That is a crowded map.
It is. So if you are listening to this, whether you are running a local business in a hyper-competitive market like that, or you're just fascinated by the unseen algorithms that dictate real-world foot traffic and commerce, well, understanding this dual ad approach is your shortcut to mastering high-intent digital marketing.
It really is.
So let's start with the foundation. What structurally changes when a business uses a local service ad compared to the traditional model?
Well, the fundamental shift is in the billing architecture. So traditional digital advertising for the longest time operated on a pay-per-click model.
Right.
A user clicks your ad, you pay a fee. Doesn't matter if they buy your service or if they, accidentally clicked and immediately closed the window.
You still pay.
You still pay.
Yeah.
Local service ads, however, operate on a pay-per-lead model.
Oh, wow. So structurally, you are shifting the burden of conversion onto the platform.
Exactly.
You are only paying when an actual tangible lead is generated, like a phone call or a direct message.
Yeah, that is the core financial difference. You are paying for the opportunity to close a sale, not just for digital foot traffic, but the visual placement is just as critical.
How so?
Well, LSAs don't just blend in. They're positioned at the absolute top of the search engine results pages. They sit above the organic results, and they even sit above the traditional paid search ads.
Top billing, which is obviously the dream scenario for any local service provider.
Oh, absolutely.
But common sense dictates there has to be friction, right? Like Google isn't just going to let anyone buy their way to the very top of the page without a catch.
Oh, there's definitely a catch. The catch is the vetting process. You'll notice that LSAs feature a Google Guarantee badge. It's this little green check mark.
Right, I've seen that.
Yeah, and to earn that badge, a business cannot just hand over a credit card. They have to pass thorough background checks, maintain highly verified business profiles, and, sustain a steady stream of positive reviews. Google is actively vouching for you.
The Google Guarantee badge is like seeing an A rating from the health inspector in a restaurant window.
That's a great way to put it.
It instantly bypasses your natural skepticism. I mean, if I need a plumber to let into my house at 2 a.m, I don't just want the guy who outbid everyone else for ad space. I want the guy who isn't going to rob me.
Right. That little badge does an immense amount of psychological heavy lifting. In a crowded marketplace where literally anyone can build a professional-looking website in an afternoon, the Google Guarantee acts as the ultimate trust signal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It removes the friction of doubt from the consumer's mind because Google is essentially saying, hey, we check these people out, and if something goes terribly wrong, we actually have a reimbursement process.
Which is a massive competitive advantage. But looking at the mechanics of this, and I have to ask, if LSAs are strictly pay-per-lead, doesn't that fundamentally change the financial risk for a small business compared to paying for random, curious clicks.
Oh, it absolutely lowers the risk.
So why wouldn't I just dump 100% of my marketing budget into LSAs? Like if I'm a roofer in Tarzana, paying for guaranteed leads sounds like the only logical strategy.
Yeah, it seems bulletproof on paper. But if you do that, you are leaving a staggering amount of potential customers on the table.
Really?
Yeah. The issue is the scope of the customer journey.
Yeah.
LSAs are highly specialized tools, right? They're designed to capture the absolute bottom of the marketing funnel.
Okay.
They are built for the person experiencing an immediate crisis. The roof is actively leaking, and they need someone right now.
So it completely ignores the research phase.
Completely. And the vast majority of consumer decisions do not happen in an instant of crisis. People research. They look up the lifespan of certain roofing materials. They compare the cost of repair versus replacement.
Right. They take your time.
Exactly. If you only run LSAs, you are entirely invisible to everyone who isn't ready to pull the trigger that very second. You've narrowed your entire business to emergency triage.
Ah, I see. Which leads directly into why traditional Google Ads are still essential.
Exactly.
So let's explore how we cast that wider net. We have the LSAs catching the immediate "my basement is flooding" crowd. What are the specific mechanics of traditional Google Ads that make them the necessary counterweight here?
Well, traditional Google Ads operate on that pay-per-click or PPC model, and they provide incredible breadth across wider search engine results.
Okay.
While an LSA might only trigger for, say, emergency plumber near me, a traditional Google ad offers highly precise targeting.
Right.
You can reach a wider audience with long-tail keywords, specific times of day, and specific demographics.
Meaning I could show up for a query like, best types of piping for a master bathroom remodel in a mid-century home?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You are reaching the audience that is gathering information and planning a project for next month. They're not ready to make a phone call today, but you are injecting your brand into their consideration set early.
I understand the theory of reaching people early. But wait, if I'm already capturing the guaranteed high-intent leads with LSAs, isn't paying for clicks on traditional Google Ads just cannibalizing my own budget and competing against myself?
It's a very common fear. I hear it all the time. But the data tells a different story. You aren't competing with yourself. You are covering each other's blind spots.
How so?
Let's say you decide to skip Google Ads to save money, but your competitor doesn't. Your competitor captures that early-stage researcher. They provide the helpful guide on bathroom remodels.
Okay, I follow.
A month later, that researcher is finally ready to hire someone. They search for a plumber, and your LSA pops up right next to your competitor's LSA.
Oh, I see where this is going. They most have the green check mark.
Right. They both have the Google guarantee. But the consumer already has brand familiarity with your competitor because they spent time on their website a month ago.
So they bypass your ad entirely.
Exactly. The traditional Google ad built the relationship, and the LSA simply processed the transaction. If you don't play in both spaces, you lose the tiebreaker almost every time.
So you're basically building a funnel where Google Ads casts the wide net and the LSA is the ultimate closer.
That is a perfect way to view it. And it brings us to the concept of synergy. 1 + 1 = 3 here. When you combine both platforms, it boosts leads and maximizes ROI without overspending.
But it requires meticulous alignment, right? The sources outline some very specific best practices for making these two systems work together. How do you actually execute this?
The first rule is thematic alignment. Your keywords and your messaging have to match across both the LSAs and the Google Ads.
Makes sense.
If your traditional ad highlights a 10-year warranty to a researcher, but your LSA doesn't mention it when they're ready to buy, you create cognitive dissonance.
Right.
And the playbook also emphasizes creating dedicated campaigns for each service area.
For example, treating a campaign for Encino entirely differently than a campaign for Reseda. But why is that necessary? They're right next to each other.
True, but the microeconomics and the housing structures are different. The search behaviors for home services in a neighborhood with aging, single-family homes will look completely different than a neighborhood dominated by newer apartment complexes.
Oh, okay.
You have to ensure the service area gets maximum coverage by isolating variables. And that leads to the most vital part of the synergy, which is measurement.
This is where we get into tracking phone calls and leads and comparing cost per lead, the CPL, against cost per click, the CPC.
Yes.
But how does a business actually weigh those two metrics against each other when they're fundamentally different units of measurement?
It requires calculating your conversion rate from clicks to actual customers, and then adjusting your bids based on ROI. Let's say your LSA generates a solid lead for $50, It feels expensive.
Yeah, that's a lot for one lead.
Meanwhile, your traditional Google ads are getting clicks for $5 each. That feels cheap. But if your website only converts 1 out of every 20 clicks into a phone call,
Then you're actually paying $100 to acquire a lead through Google Ads. So suddenly the $50 LSA is the bargain.
exactly. That's the realization businesses need to have. Regular audits are necessary to maintain a balance between the two platforms.
Right.
It ensures consistent exposure while reducing wasted ad spend. It fluctuates daily based on competitor bidding. You have to constantly weigh the scales. If the cost to acquire a customer via clicks in Woodland Hills gets too high, you throttle that budget back and push more money into the LSA in that specific zip code.
But perfectly balancing bids, tracking CPL versus CPC, and running audits across a dozen different Los Angeles neighborhoods. I mean, that sounds like a full-time job.
It absolutely is.
If I run an HDAC company, I don't have the time or the specialized knowledge to stare at a dashboard all day.
Which is exactly why agencies like AdExpert exist. We're moving from theory to execution now. Managing this complex dual ad strategy requires dedicated focus.
Let's dig into that execution. How does a modern digital marketing agency handle this in a way that a business owner simply can't?
Well, the sources highlight that AdExpert doesn't just guess. They use a combination of past historical data and deep competitor analysis to build tailored strategies for the specific realities of the Los Angeles digital marketing landscape.
Okay.
But the real differentiator is how they manage the campaigns once they are live. They utilize real-time marketing insights with live tracking.
Right, the phrase that stood out to me in their materials is that they get a bird's eye view of campaigns across all channels. I imagine checking a report at the end of the month just doesn't cut it anymore.
Oh, end-of-month reporting is just an autopsy?
Wow, an autopsy.
Yeah, it just tells you how your budget died. When you're managing two fundamentally different bidding models, simultaneously pay-per-lead versus pay-per-click, you need real-time insights allowing for on-the-fly optimization.
Because things change so fast.
Exactly. If a massive new competitor enters the Sherman Oaks market on a Tuesday and starts aggressively bidding up pay-per-click rates, your $50 acquisition cost might instantly jump to $150.
Yikes.
Real-time tracking allows the agency to spot that anomaly immediately and shift the budget toward LSAs on the fly, protecting the client's ROI.
And a human being isn't just sitting there hitting refresh on a browser to spot those trends, right? The playbook heavily leverages AI for this. What is the AI actually doing behind the scenes?
It's performing tasks at a scale no human could manage. They use AI for customer targeting, personalized campaigns, advanced analytics, and optimization tools.
Right.
The AI processes vast streams of behavioral data to identify micro-trends. It can instantly funnel budget from top-of-funnel Google Ads directly into bottom-of-funnel LSAs to capture immediate demand and then automatically revert the budget. Without AI-powered analytics, a business is just guessing.
That is incredible. But I want to focus on what happens after the ad does its job. The AI bids perfectly, the user clicks the ad, and they land on the website. If the website is terrible, the lead is dead, right?
Oh, absolutely. It is the most expensive mistake you can make. You paid for the click, but the bucket has a hole in it. This is why AdExpert also employs A/B testing and precise data-driven copywriting.
Let's break down the mechanics of an A/B test in this context. What does that actually look like?
Well, it's about removing guesswork. You take that traffic coming from your Google Ads and you split it. Half the visitors see landing page A, where the headline says, 247 emergency plumber in Encino.
Okay.
The other half sees landing page B, where the headline says family-owned Encino plumbers since 1990. You then measure which page actually results in more phone calls. You let the data tell you what the consumer values most.
And that ties into the copywriting aspect. The source material specifically mentions writing copy designed to meet Google's latest algorithm requirements with semantic keywords. That sounds like a lot of technical jargon.
It does, yeah.
How does that practically affect the business owner?
It means your website copy has to serve two masters simultaneously. It has to persuade the human being reading it that you are trustworthy, but it also has to signal to Google's highly complex algorithm that you are the most relevant answer to a search query.
I see.
Semantic keywords is a shift away from the old days of just aggressively stuffing the word plumber into a paragraph 20 times.
So it's about context.
Context is everything. If you're targeting high-end bathroom remodels, Google's algorithm isn't just looking for the word remodel. It's looking for semantically related concepts naturally woven into the text.
Like what?
Phrases about water pressure calibration or modern fixture installation or even permit requirements in Los Angeles. If your content demonstrates deep contextual authority, Google lowers your cost per click because they want to send users to high-quality destinations.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So setting up the LSAs and Google Ads is like buying a high-performance sports car.
Right.
But the live tracking, the A/B testing, and the AI tools Ad Expert uses, that's the GPS and the expert pit crew, making sure you don't drive it straight into a wall.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. The strategy gets you on the track, but the continuous data-driven execution is what actually wins the race.
Well, to wrap up this deep dive, let's distill the core takeaway for you, the listener. Dominating local search isn't about choosing between trust, which we get from LSAs, and reach, which we get from traditional Google Ads.
No, not at all.
It's about combining them and then actively managing that combination with real-time data and AI to maximize ROI.
Exactly. I always remind people that in today's digital landscape, visibility without trust is wasted money. And trust without visibility is a hidden secret.
So true. But, it leaves me with one final kind of provocative thought for you to ponder on your own.
Well, let's hear it.
To get the Google guarantee today, you have to pass background checks and verify your reviews just to earn top ad placement. As AI makes it easier to fake digital content, how long until every search result, not just ads, requires that level of pre-verified human trust just to be seen by a consumer?
Wow. Yeah, that is a wild thought.
Right. Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.